Hey guys, what is up? You are watching the Villains Only podcast. I'm your host, Kalen, and I'll be discussing today the top 3 reasons why traveling increases your value as a man. Intro time. Let's get it. Lay it on me. Hey guys, welcome to the Villains Only podcast. I'm so excited to finally be releasing the pilot episode. It's been a long time coming. A lot of you have been reaching out to me about the process, and it feels great to finally be here and present to you my work finally. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Kalen. You can find me on Instagram. My username is BlackJet0. That's all one word, no spaces or anything like that. This podcast will also be available on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. And yeah, just to go a little bit into my background, man, where do I even start? I'm a pretty simple guy. I like spicy food, as you can tell. I don't really like sleeves on my t-shirt. Not a fan of sleeves. uh, I'm pretty big into anime, a lot of old school and new school anime. I do like to game from time to time, so a lot of old school video games, but I haven't really done any new school video games. But if you guys have any recommendations, I do like RPGs and like story-based games, kind of like Zelda type games. And I'm pretty big into working out. I typically try to work anywhere from 3 to 5 times per week. 5 times if I'm lucky, just because I have a pretty hectic schedule. I'm pretty big into art, as you guys can tell. The studio is pretty much my bedroom. And I spent about 1 to 2 grand on just trying to convert everything in my room into a studio. Got, the sound panels, camera, lighting, microphone, audio interface, things like that. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and share with you guys some sauce on some things I've learned in my travels. And speaking on that, I'm originally from VA, born and raised. I have lived in 14 different states. I've traveled to 38 different states and 3 different countries. And right now, I've been in Colorado for about, I'd say 5 to 6 years. And, I'm planning on probably leaving because, I'm not really a big fan of the cold weather and I get a lot of heat for that. Like, people are like, why are you moving to Colorado if you hate cold weather? But, I mean, hey, it's a pretty nice state. I can't complain. But yeah, anyways, whole goal of this podcast, it's a self help and motivation podcast. I noticed in my experience, I've never really been exposed to the quote unquote RP community until recently, and it kind of made me think, this information isn't really out there. So I wanted to be able to have my own personal experiences out there as well, because this information is pretty scarce. And in today's climate, when it comes to talking about certain topics that can be considered controversial, a lot of people are going to hit you with the
How dare you?
and you can't really say certain things. So you know I'm going to be a little unapologetic at times, and that's part of the point, because on this podcast we understand that there are some things that you just can't help, and you have to improve yourself as a person in order to become a better person. But yeah, anyway, today I am going to talk about the top 3 reasons why travel increases your value. So we're going to go ahead and transition over. All right. So, point number one, I'm going to count. Actually, I'm going to count down from 3. So the top 3 reasons. Reason number 3. So, a man who is well traveled has many stories to tell, and I've lived in, as I've said, over 14 different states. So I can say I have a lot of different experiences from traveling all across the U.S. And I think what I found in my journeys is that, you know, the U.S. is kind of like a lot like Europe, in the sense of that, we're one large mass of land, but when it comes to different states, there's also different cultures. So it's almost like being in the sense, kind of like being in Europe, and that each state is like a different country, because I can say that when I lived in Las Vegas, it was completely different from living in a place like Mackinac Island, Michigan. And so, just going off of that, I just want to shout out my friend real quick, Estera, Manya, and Zuza. They are traveling over to Las Vegas, and they're some good friends that I met. They're from Poland, so I want to go ahead and shout them out real quick. All right. I hope you guys are doing good. I saw that you guys were in Hawaii, California, and now you guys are vacationing in Vegas. It's one of my favorite places I ever lived in my entire life, and I really hope that you guys enjoy the experience out there. Get Roberto's. I'm telling you, it's good. But yeah, anyways, just going off of that story, yeah. When I say that someone who's well traveled has many stories to tell, one example I can give is in the scenario living in Las Vegas. It's a pretty big tourist attraction. So anytime I have friends or coworkers that want to travel to Vegas, one way I increase my value is by giving value back to someone. And life is all about an exchange of value, and it's about people. So when I'm able to give value to someone, I receive value back in a sense through like social proof. So, I always tell people all the time, you go to Vegas, go to Fremont Street. It's like the strip, but, a little bit more for the locals. If you want really good food, I tell people all the time, you got to get Roberto's Taco Shop, get the carne asada fries loaded up with the pickled carrots, green and red salsa. Literally, every time I get it, I'm sitting here sweating bullets talking about some,
I need it!
breathing super heavy like, and I tell people all the time, if I was on death row, that would be my final meal. No questions asked. Give me 6 trays of carne asada fries. I can die in peace no matter what I did. And it's just funny because, I never would have experienced that if I didn't open myself to being able to travel. So that's just one of the many stories that I have. I've also lived in the middle of Indiana. I worked at the Lincoln Boyhood Memorial, which was where Abraham Lincoln grew up as a child, and working there, everything was kind of set in that 18th century type of vibe. So, everyone had not sure what you call like the bonnet or whatever. You know, the women were churning butter. There was horse-drawn plows. I got to experience riding on the back of one of them, and the funny thing about that was the town wasn't very diverse, and you know, of course, being in the 18th century type of mindset, and you're wearing the type of clothes that they wear back then. And me being a minority, I'm over here sitting like just kind of got a lot of the red alerts like, and you know, the town itself wasn't very diverse, so I got a lot of looks from white people, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm wondering if in their mind they're thinking,
Chocolate! 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 Chocolate!
but anyways, no, the people were really cool with me. You know, I've been to so many different places. I've been to Bemidji, Minnesota. That got to go to Mall of America. So it's just so many things I can talk about of all the places I traveled to. Um, where else have I been, man? Like Outer Banks, North Carolina. Been to Death Valley, California. Now that place was pretty crazy because the type of people I worked with kind of gave me a lot of red flags. Like, and the place was a little sketchy. I'm not gonna lie, and you know the weather was so unbelievably hot. I'm talking at nighttime. It would be around like in the 80s and the 90s, and I'm over here sweating bullets talking about some.
What kind of place is this?
But yeah, I just been to so many different places, and I've been so appreciative of all the places I've been to. Um, and you know, I still plan to travel. You know, having released this podcast, it kind of slows things down a little bit. But you know, I don't really mind. I've done enough traveling. I can now take the knowledge that I've learned and apply it to this podcast, and then you know, eventually I'll start traveling again. But right now, I'm kind of taking a little bit of a hiatus. Um, but yeah, so that's definitely um, a pretty good reason to travel is that you just have so many stories to tell, and like what I've told you guys so far on the podcast doesn't even scratch the surface of things I've just experienced. So, anyways, we're gonna go to point number two. So, the second reason why travel increases your value as a man is it gives you the appearance of being open minded, receptive of new experiences, and accepting of different cultures. And what I mean by this is, matter of fact, I want to shout out my good friend, my brother from Turkey, Oz. Let me go ahead and give you a quick shout out. Yeah, so he's a good friend that I met in Turkey. And one of the stories I can get into is I used to work at the YMCA of the Rockies in Estes Park, Colorado. And they do kind of like these, how do I say, work agreements with international workers so they can come over to the U.S. On a work visa. Work over here in the U.S. For a couple months, or you know even more, and then eventually go back home. And the work agreements, like those work contracts that had at the time, I believe was with about 12 to 15 different countries. So I'm telling you, I've met people from Turkey, people from Russia, countries I've never even heard of, Moldova, um, where else? Senegal, um, Jordan. I've met people literally from all over Thailand, Taiwan, China, Japan, um, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, Dominican Republic, and well, Poland as well. And it's just so enlightening. Just how many people that you meet from all over the world that want to come to America to, you know, ultimately experience the culture here, and you know they realize that America's a pretty cool place. Like people are pretty open, and you know not one state is too similar to another. So, California is obviously going to be different from Wisconsin. And it was such a cool experience because at the job that I was working at the time, they'll do these international dinners, so you're able to experience different cultures. Try different food. They'll have graphics, kind of like the what do you call it? Like back in high school when you had to do the poster presentation. So they'll have like the little poster or whiteboard that describes their country, the culture, and sometimes they'll be wearing the outfit that is synonymous with the culture back home. And it's just such a cool experience because you sitting here, you're having dinner with all your international friends, and you're looking at your plate, and there's just different foods from, like, you're literally eating foods from different countries all over the world, and you just sit there and look, and you're like, wow, I never would have had this experience if I just decided to, stay in my hometown and never try to experience, things outside of myself. Um, and so that's important as well because it gives you that experience of being open minded. If you're someone who's open minded, you're in the eyes of your peers, in the eyes of women, you are someone who is, like I said, open minded. You're not afraid to take risk. You're confident in your choices. And these are all key factors that increase your value as a man because, we got to be honest, there's not a lot of people that are willing to leave their hometown to go um, even a state over, much less across the entire U.S. And I've done that several times, like being from Virginia, going to Colorado, going to Texas, going to California, going to Michigan, going to Las Vegas, going to Oregon. Um, so it just gives you that, it gives other people that perception that, you're willing to leave things at the drop of a dime. You're spontaneous. And, that's definitely a quality trait that a lot of women like, especially if you're, looking to increase your value as a man to, attract women. A lot of women do like that, being able to be spontaneous and, fun and exciting. Um, and being receptive of new experiences. One example I can give is that, like I said, I'm a fan of hot weather, and I moved to Colorado, and a lot of people are like,
Stupid.
but when I first came out to Colorado, the weather was cold, but I was able to manage. And then actually, just last year, I learned how to snowboard, and I'm not gonna lie, when I first started the sport, I taught myself, and I wanted to be able to learn by myself because that's kind of the way I roll. So I remember when I first started learning how to snowboard, and I tried my first blue trail. Um, and I was carrying some snacks with me while I was trying to ride, thinking I'd be okay. And I remember going halfway down one of the blue trails, and I caught one of my back edges, and all of a sudden, you get the guests can hear me, and they can just see me rolling down the hill, and I'm sitting there yelling, talking about some, and just all my snacks like flying in the air. It was a funny experience. And then the thing I like about snowboarding is that when you wipe out, it doesn't hurt too bad. The snow kind of cushions your fall. But hey, I never would have learned how to snowboard if I never stepped out of my comfort zone, went to a place where I wasn't going to be comfortable, and gave it a try. So that's just another one of my stories where I can explain to you guys why traveling opens just it just opens the door to so many new experiences, whether it's snowboarding, whether it's going to a place you've never been to, whether it's trying food from a different culture. And I still want to do that. I'm definitely a person who likes to try new things. And yeah, anyways, going off of that, we can now get into the number one reason why travel increases your value as a man. So, number one reason, you are presented with opportunities you aren't normally given. So, I kind of want to go back into a dream world, so to speak, a little flashback. So around 2014 was where I really uh, had the start of my travel experience. I remember I was living with a friend, and I was working at Target. The Target was kind of next to the apartment complex, so I was able to longboard. That was kind of my sport at the time. So you can kind of see how the transition from longboard to snowboard went for me. But anyways, I was working at Target and I was kind of doing the early morning shift, stocking the back room. And I would longboard to work every day, same old thing. And I was also taking classes at the community college that was, a few blocks down. And I reached a point where I kind of got tired of just this repetitive, endless cycle. Yeah, I was doing the community college, but I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. My bosses were giving me shit, and I was just kind of sick of them. I was trying to go to school full time, and they weren't willing to compromise with my schedule. So I was just kind of like, this isn't really for me. So I remember one day I was on my computer and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go on Google. I'm going to type in jobs, room and board, something along those lines, jobs where I can travel, room and board, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually I came across uh, this organization called AmeriCorps. And I can definitely do a whole entire episode about this. If you are between the ages of 18 to 24, you're just getting out of high school, you aren't really sure what you want to do, maybe you're taking a gap year, I highly recommend that you do AmeriCorps because I'm telling you, you're just going to be getting constant gems from this program. And just to go off of that, it is it's like a government program. People like to call it the Domestic Peace Corps. It's about 10 months long. You live with a team of up to 8 to 10 members, including a team leader. You travel all across the U.S. in a 16 passenger vehicle. Um, all your expenses are paid for. You got a living stipend. You got your groceries are all covered. Your travel's all covered. And basically, you just travel across the U.S. doing different types of service projects. Now, there's two different types of branches in AmeriCorps. So there's FEMA Corps and NCCC, which are kind of like the main ones. NCCC is more if you like, the manual labor aspect type of volunteer work, and then FEMA deals more with like natural disaster, hazard mitigation, working on computers, going into government facilities, things like that. And the beautiful thing about this program is that you live with people from all different walks of life. You work with so many different, depending which branch of AmeriCorps you do. You have the opportunity to work with so many different nonprofit organizations or government organizations. And also, at the end of the program, if you complete the term, the whole 10 months, they give you an education award, which I believe is the Pell Grant. And you can earn that award up to 2 times. So if you enroll in the program twice, if you give them 20 months of your life, um, you will get that education award twice, which at the time for me, I think it constantly increases. So at the time, it was about 6,500 for me. So now I got 13K, and I'm using that money currently to finish my personal trainer uh, certification so that I can become a personal trainer because that's what I want to do. I'm really into fitness. Um, and it's completely covered now just because I gave them 20 months of my life, and it was something that wasn't really even that hard. And you do so many diverse types of work. So when I did NCCC, I worked with Habitat for Humanity, Rebuilding Together Pittsburgh. As you guys can see, I am a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I had the opportunity to live in Pittsburgh for about 2 months. So I was able to go to the Steelers Stadium when it was still Heinz Field. I was able to ride the Duquesne Incline. Um, What else? I was able to get Permane Brothers. I know that's something that a lot of people from Pittsburgh talk about, and it was such an amazing experience. Honestly, if I could have my way, maybe I would move to Pittsburgh. Like it was a pretty great city. I've always been able to get something great from every place I've been to. But yeah, I was just presented with so many opportunities that you normally don't find on a job board or in a newspaper. So I've done so many different types of work from home construction. So I'm a real big fan of when I was doing real rebuilding together Pittsburgh. I was a huge fan of drywall. I was a huge fan of flooring, roofing. Wasn't a big fan of mudding, but I enjoyed the process anyway. Because if you're kind of a perfectionist like me, it takes time to get the mud and all those like little line marks off. Painting, taping, things like that. So I've done a lot of home construction. I've worked in museums before. One in particular, the Headwaters Science Center in Bemidji, Minnesota. So I was able to work with kids and things like that, and present to them animals. Like we had ball pythons, tarantulas, albino bunnies, just so many different animals, different science projects, and you're showing the kids all the different types of projects. What else? I worked in community gardens, so doing some outside gardening, and then we had a community shelf. We were able to give the food out for, I believe it was either free or a very very low price to the community. So fresh produce. That was something that was also really really cool. And throughout that AmeriCorps experience, I was able to meet a lot of significant figures in the U.S. and just in general. I was able to meet the mayor of Seabright, go into her house, which I gotta say it was nuts. I'm talking this. It must have been like 4 stories. She had like a river in her backyard. I got in a canoe for the very first time in my life. Immediately tipped over. Um, for AmeriCorps, I believe it was the 20th anniversary. I got to meet President Obama and President Clinton at the same time, get to shake both of their hands. So that was a really cool experience. I got the pictures with me still to this day. Um, I was able to go to like government facilities like Mount Weather. I've seen underground fallout shelters in Indiana. Like you just see so much of the world. I was able to go to the Mall of America. Like, dude, like I'm not even scratching the surface of what I've seen. So it's just such a cool opportunity to be able to see places you would never see or even think about in a million years. So definitely, you're presented with a lot of opportunities that you aren't normally given. And those are my top 3 reasons of why travel increases your value as a man. And, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a bonus round. So let me go ahead and transition over. So, real quick, I kind of want to talk about the pros and cons to traveling because, you know, with a lot of things in life, there's going to be pros and cons to everything. So, one of the pros I would say is that, well, actually, I'll do pros and cons when it comes to relationships. That'll kind of condense everything, make it a little bit easier. I would say one of the pros is you have a diverse market of meeting different people. So, in this sense, when you work these different types of jobs where you meet different people from all types of backgrounds, all walks of life, it's very diverse. So, like I said, when I was working at the Y, you're all living on the same property, so you're able to. I mean, hey, if you like foreign women, man, this might be the job for you. I've met women from Thailand, from China, from Spain, and man, I gotta say, women from Spain, whew, Lord have mercy. I mean, like that's kind of my weakness right there. And yeah, so you just a lot of the women, I'm not gonna lie, they want to meet an American man. So you kind of have the leverage in this sense where they're looking to have the American experience. You're already an American. Um, and you can give that to them. So that's definitely a pro, is that you kind of have a wide choice, so to speak, of dating options. Um, what was another pro? Trying to think. Yeah, like I said, traveling gives you that wisdom where you're able to give knowledge back, give value back, and when you have such a diverse range of people to meet, it gives you an opportunity to learn about them as well. So, hey, if you're trying to learn about another language, um, one of the best ways to learn another language is to talk to someone who does speak the language. And what I mean by that is the jobs that I've worked, they'll be wanting to learn English, they'll be wanting to learn, let's say, Spanish. So then you'll have these conversations. And a lot of times when I've talked to people, we've used apps like Duolingo, Google Translate's pretty good. I still use Google Translate even to this day, and it's been pretty effective. Um, and then what else? Let's see. Um, we can kind of go into cons a little bit. I would say one of the cons of traveling is that when it comes to relationships, is that it can get pretty lonely. So you can be away from family, from friends, and then I'm not gonna lie. If you don't have game, dating can be pretty lonely because there's other certain ways you can travel too. There's other jobs, job websites like Coolworks, backdoor jobs where you can work resort jobs, and then you're able to live and work on these resorts. And a lot of these places are small communities, so they can be towns of up to maybe only 2 to 3,000 people. And if you don't really have game, you're just gonna sit out there and you're gonna be looking kind of
Stupid.
and a lot of the women are going to be linked up with other guys, and you're going to be the only person that's alone. And a lot of the resort jobs they work and they peak at certain seasons, and when the seasons slow down, there's hardly any people in the town. And hey, if you're someone who wants a relationship and you're not booed up, then it can be pretty lonely. And then also, I would say one more con would be word of mouth can spread pretty fast. So if you are one of those people that kind of like your privacy, this might not be the opportunity for you because, in the town of 3,000 people, or if you live and work at a resort where there's probably like 500 workers and you're all in like in the dining hall, like the mess hall, or if you're all in the employee lounge, so to speak, word can get around pretty fast. For example, I remember one guy, and rightfully so. He got fired, but for being a creep. But he was one of those guys who thought that making a lot of sexual remarks would be suave or whatever. And so one girl had complained about it, um, and then two girls that never even met each other, they can say, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. I've seen him before too." And then boom, you put two and two together, and they're like, "Oh wait, girl, he said that to you too." Oh yeah, he said that to me too. And then word eventually spreads, and then a lot of these resort jobs, they don't want the bad PR, so they don't want to do the investigation, they don't want to have to look through security footage, have to interview witnesses. So then, hey, a lot of the times, I'm not gonna lie, they're just gonna fire you right off the spot because it's just so much easier to just fire you than have to deal with all the bad PR that comes with all these dudes being creeps or whatever the case may be. And also to piggyback off of that, if you get into a relationship with someone, it can be kind of hard because, if you guys have some bad blood or have a bad fallout, that can spread as well. And then people can, say things like, oh, yeah, uh, she's a hoe. She belongs to the street. She was doing some quote unquote hoish tendencies, and then at that moment, a lot of people are gonna sit there singing. And in a small town, your reputation can get soiled. So if you kind of like your privacy, I mean, it's still possible to make it out here, but it could be a little difficult. If you like your privacy. And then I'd probably say the last con would be, if you do get into a relationship with, like, say, for example, an international worker or someone who, like, you work at the same resort, but you both live in different states, it can be difficult at the end of the contract because sometimes these jobs, they have like these work contracts where you can work 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. When I worked at the Y, you couldn't work longer than 8 months because once you work longer than 8 months, you start getting full time benefits. So they want you to take 4 months off. So then at some point, your contract has to end. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done long distance relationships before. It is not easy. On a probability scale, I'm gonna say like 8 to 8.5 times out of 10, it doesn't really work. And I mean, even more so profound if it's someone who lives in an entirely different country from you. Granted, if they live maybe in South America, flights aren't super expensive, but, say hypothetically they live all the way in Cambodia. I mean, the flights are going to be expensive, especially round trip. So, is it possible? Yeah, absolutely. Is it probable? I'm not gonna lie. It's a toss up. It's going to be very difficult. Have I seen it work? Yeah, absolutely. I've seen international workers that eventually stay, do the process to stay in the U.S. And then I've seen U.S. workers go all the way to another country just to be with that person. So yeah, it's possible, but is it probable? Not too much, but hey, anything's possible. So that's just something to consider if you were to get in that type of relationship. But anyways, yeah. So I gave you guys the top 3 reasons of why travel increases your value. I gave you some pros and cons. And like I said, go ahead and give this video a like if you guys appreciate the sauce that I'm dropping and, all these different gems that I'm dropping. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Just a few quick announcements. I'll probably do an episode a week. And eventually get things on Spotify, Apple, Twitch, and other major platforms. But yeah, guys, until next time, I'll see you guys later.
No one cares.